I'm going to share my recipe for what I consider are the best potato latkes in the world. This is a family recipe, and I'm making this video mainly for my children so that they have instructions on how to make it when they're grown-ups. But I figured I'd share this with you guys because I think this is the absolute best potato latke recipe out there, and it's a family recipe. So first, let me run down the ingredients and the equipment that you need. Generally speaking, one nice russet potato per person that's going to have the latkes. Now, if the latkes are a main dish, I would say it's like at least one potato. Or if it's a side dish, probably you can think of it as like a half potato per person. And then an onion. I like these little yellow onions. Roughly this size for every potato. So you can have a big onion, and that covers like a whole bunch of potatoes, obviously. You need a potato peeler, a knife, obviously, to peel the onion. And this flat grater, this is, it's like a cheese grater, but this is used to grate the potato in. And it's very handy. I also like having some multi-purpose flour, which you'll see where that comes in later. And we don't need a lot of it, it's just you add it based on the consistency. And then 2 bowls, nice size with the strainer like this. And the strainer is used to help as you grate the potato, right? The peeled potato you grate. You want to get as much water and starch in the potato out of the potato shredding as possible. And that's really the key to this. So what we're going to do is the first step, when we put these aside, we're going to peel the potato. I'm going to put the potato here. Okay, we have a peeled potato. So obviously if you're peeling a bunch of potatoes, what you want to do is keep the potato in cold water so it doesn't start turning brown from the air. But since this is only one potato, we don't need to do that. And what we're going to do is we're going to get one of the bowls, a little deeper one, with the colander or the strainer, with the grater, with the sharpest side up, which you can tell by just feeling it. I'm not sure it really makes much difference. They both feel pretty sharp. And what you do, turn this around so I can get a better grip. So you take the potato and you slowly and carefully, so you don't cut your fingers on the grater, shred it. So this will take a few minutes depending upon your speed, dexterity, and ability not to get your fingers and skin in the potato mixture. But basically what this is doing is shredding the potato into like a pulp. I guess you could call it pulp. It's almost like turning it into like a flour, a potato flour consistency, except for it's wet from all the water and starch. And we're going to keep grating this down. Tap this out to get all the potato out of the grater. Now I'm at the very end, so I'm just going to do this carefully. Try to get as much potato in without hurting myself, which is usually around that much potato left. But the key is obviously be careful. I'll give it a tap just to get any of the potato out. What we have here is the grated potato. So now, I guess that's roughly the shape of the potato when we started out with. But here's the thing, right? I don't know if you can tell, but you can see water draining, and you see the white or discoloration. It's a combination of the oxygen hitting it and starch. So what we're going to do is we're just going to gently push it down to try to get as much water out of the potato as possible. Now, it's not going to be possible to get everything out, right? And you don't want to get everything out because you still want it to have a fluffy consistency, which is why I am tapping it. But just with the 2 presses alone, you get a lot more. So we're just going to kind of let that hang out. And then the other thing that we want to do is we're going to cut the onion. The onion also gets grated and added to the potato, which is also a key to this recipe. So this, as I said, this is a family recipe. My dad would make my sister and I latkes when we were little and growing up, and this recipe comes from his mother. And to feel like a family of 4 of these, it can be a lot of work, grating 4 to 6 potatoes and then frying them, because obviously these are going to be fried, and I'll go over that in a bit. With one potato is pretty easy. So as a side dish, you know, you do 2 potatoes for people, or if you just want to make it for yourself, just to play with, just to understand how this is made, you know, it's very easy. It doesn't take a lot of time. All right, so I'm going to put the shredded potato in the bowl over there. All right, so now we'll grate the onion in. Now, I know the onion is going to put water back in. That's okay, right? That's why we have the flours, to make sure that's the right consistency. Now, all you basically do is carefully, because the onion will fall apart, you want to shred the onion like you shredded the potato, and basically you're adding the shredded onion mixture in. So this you want to be careful with, because you know you can see the onion has been falling apart because of the layers, and it's very easy to cut yourself. And of course you don't want like this big massive chunks in. You just want the shredded pieces in, and as much as you can possibly get. And so I'm just going to remove a big piece, because we really just want these little shredded pieces of onion in. And you know, it's easy for the big pieces to get in because the thing is falling apart on you. But there you go. Adding a little flour, because what I want to do is make sure that there's no excess water, right? I want to be able to get this so that all the potato stays together and binds. Because what we're going to do is you're going to easily grab like a spoonful. Doesn't have to be perfect shape, like that. And that's what you fry. Or you can get a little bigger bit if you want a bigger latke, but you don't want them too big. You don't want them bigger than this spoon. So you want them to be able to obviously hold together when they hit the fryer. So since it's still a bit of a loose mix, just adding enough flour incrementally and mixing it in so that everything is bound together. Right? That's really what you're doing here. And really, there's no, like, I don't measure it, because it's by consistency. Right? You can kind of tell by this, and that's a pretty good consistency. I don't think I need much more flour, although some of it's still like falling apart a little bit. So I'll just add a little more, and you just go by eye, right? And we just mix this in, because you know I want all the flour nicely and fully incorporated. You can use all-purpose flour. I'm using gluten-free flour, and there we go. Okay, so I have a wok, and I poured in, might be about 2 inches, maybe a little more than that, worth of sunflower oil. And I'm bringing it up to temperature. Now, I should probably be using a oil thermometer or something to test the temperature of the oil. I don't have one. And so what I was taught by my father is basically what you're looking is, you're bringing the temperature up slowly on a low to medium heat. This is a little bit more medium high, so I'm going to turn this down a little bit. And really, as the oil comes up to temperature, you'll start seeing it ripple. Obviously, you don't want to bring it up too hot too fast, because you don't want to create a fire. And really what you want to do is, as soon as you start seeing the oil itself ripple, which it's just beginning to, I don't know if you can see that, but it's just moving a little bit. What I like doing, I'm going to keep it at a medium to high flame now, is I like doing a small test example. Basically, half on the spoon and toss it in. All right, so that's a good sound. That's what I want to hear. But this test example, what happens is this is going to drop the temperature of the oil, which will slow down and impede how it cooks the other latkes until the oil comes back up in temperature. So I'm going to let this one cook a bit first. And then the other tool I use is these tongs, which can handle the heat. And basically what I'm doing is I'm letting it cook, and I'm letting it float up to the top, right? Because eventually do that once the bottom cooks enough. It won't be stuck to the bottom, so you want to give it a few minutes to do that. And then you want to turn it over so it cooks on both sides evenly. And you want to let it cook so that it's a golden brown color. So let me move this over. All right, so it's already floating, and I can already see the outside edge begin to turn a different color. And so, okay, so the oil is actually plenty hot. So you see it's getting up to a golden color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a few more in, because this could take a very long time if you're cooking them one at a time or even like 3 at a time, because you have to go through this entire batch, and this is only 1 potato. Right? And so the goal is you don't want them tightly packed, you want them a bit loose. You want to drop them in, and you basically want to make sure they don't stick together, which this one already has, so I'll just separate it out. And we'll just let this cook. We got a bunch that have already cooked. I've taken 2 out already. And you can see a nice golden brown color. So I take these out, make sure any excess oil drips off because we don't want them too oily. And they're going on a plate where there's a paper towel so that the excess oil on the surface can absorb out. And then give them a little salt, coastal salt or sea salt, whatever suits your fancy. And I remember what my father said, it's best to salt something when it's fried and hot because the salt will stick to it better. And then let me make the last ones, we'll put it in here. I'll make a little bigger one. And so what this is making is roughly 5, 9, maybe 10 latkes based on the size of the potato. You know, these are not monstrous, right? These are supposed to be little sides. Now the thing with this style of latke as opposed to, you know, a grated potato pancake is potato pancakes I find are they're flat. It's almost like hash browns, breakfast hash browns. These, a friend of mine described them as potato chicken nuggets, without the chicken obviously. And they're supposed to be crunchy on the outside and fluffy on the inside. So we're going to let these cook up, and then when they're all done, we'll plate them to serve. And okay, here's the final plated product. The latke broken open, you can see that it's still a light color on the inside, but it's fully cooked. I happen to like these with sour cream. My family also ate them with applesauce, and they're the best. They're crispy and crunchy and soft and fluffy, and I hope you enjoy them.